was too quiet until it wasn't. I said what I said. I repeated, my voice barely steady. I'm keeping the baby.
And that was it.
That one sentence, short and trembling, triggered the explosion I'd been dreading for weeks. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos? And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation? Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. You ruined this family, my father screamed, slamming his fist on the side table so hard the picture frame of my parents' wedding toppled over. My mother didn't even flinch. She stood near the fireplace, arms folded, cold eyes fixed on the carpet like she was above the mess. My brother, Adam, leaned against the staircase railing, watching like it was a movie, like I was just a plot twist that would be resolved in a few commercial breaks. I stood in the center of it all, 17, scared, pregnant, and completely alone in a home that had never really felt like mine. Dad's voice cracked from rage. I gave you everything, your school, your car, a roof over your head, and this is how you repay us? Getting knocked up by some loser, some random street trash? You embarrassed us, Amber. I felt the words slam into my chest, but I didn't move. My hands were clenched at my sides, my lips quivering, but my eyes were dry. I was done crying. I don't need anything from you anymore, I said softly. You damn right you don't. He stormed past me, disappearing into the hallway. A second later, I heard the closet door crash open. No, wait, Dad. I gasped, running after him, just as he yanked out my suitcase from the hall closet. He didn't care it wasn't packed. He didn't care about the baby growing inside me, or the fact it was snowing outside. He threw it.
Just like that.
The suitcase bounced off the porch steps, the zipper popping open, my clothes spilling into the cold.
Out.
I stood there frozen, my breath clouding in the winter air. I turned back and looked at my mother one last time. She still hadn't moved. Not an inch. I smiled. Through tears. Through humiliation. Through heartbreak. Someday, I whispered, you'll regret this. And I walked away. Pregnant. Homeless. But not broken. Not yet. I slept in my car the first night. The second night, I cried into my coat at a 24-hour diner until an elderly waitress named Ruby slipped me a bowl of soup and whispered, come back tomorrow. We'll figure something out. Ruby became my first miracle. She got me a job washing dishes. Paid under the table. It wasn't much, but it was enough to scrape by. I rented a room in a rundown boarding house near the bus station. The walls were thin, and the heater barely worked, but I was safe. And my baby? He kicked for the first time 3 weeks later, while I sat on the floor organizing coupons. That tiny flutter felt like the universe telling me I'd done the right thing. I named him Noah. And from that moment on, I swore I'd give him everything I never had, no matter what it cost me. Even if I had to become someone completely new to do it. 15 years later, I stood in front of the same house that had thrown me out. Same shutters. Same porch swing. Same crack in the driveway. Noah stood beside me, taller than me now, calm and quiet like always. He was wearing the navy blue blazer he had chosen himself. The silver pin on his chest glinted in the afternoon sun. You ready? I asked. He nodded, adjusting his cuffs.
Yeah.
Let's do this. I pressed the doorbell. Footsteps. Then the door opened. My father. Older. Thinner. Hair gray at the sides. He opened his mouth, then froze. His eyes shifted from me to Noah, and he nearly collapsed. The look on my father's face was worth every sleepless night, every shift worked on swollen ankles, every time I'd skipped a meal so Noah could eat. His jaw worked like he wanted to say something, anything, but all he could do was stare at my son. He stammered. Noah tilted his head slightly, offering a polite smile. Hi, sir. I'm Noah, Amber's son. My father's hands trembled. He clutched the doorframe like it was the only thing keeping him upright. My mother's voice floated from inside the house. Who is it, Harold? He didn't answer. I leaned in slightly and said calmly, you might want to sit down. This conversation's going to shake your world. 15 years ago, when I left, I had nothing, no savings, no degree, no safety net. But I had one thing that burned hotter than my shame: willpower. After I moved into the boarding house, I took every night shift at the diner Ruby would let me. When I got too pregnant to stand for long hours, I switched to folding linens for a local dry cleaner. Some nights, I cried into my pillow when I felt Noah kicking and I didn't know how I'd afford diapers. But I never let myself spiral. Not in front of him. When he was born in that cramped public hospital room, I looked into his eyes and whispered, "You are my reason now." I breastfed to save money, made baby food out of whatever I could find on sale. I learned how to stretch $1 into $2 and how to lie to myself about being tired. I studied online while Noah slept.
Good.
Then nursing prerequisites. Then accelerated night classes. I pumped milk on breaks, ran home between classes to feed him, and still clocked in at work like I wasn't falling apart inside. People asked how I did it. The truth? I didn't have the option to fail. Noah was the quiet kind of baby who studied people. He always sensed when I was hurting, even before he could talk. By the time he was 5, he was already offering to carry groceries. By 8, he'd started saving coins from his lunch change in a jar labeled Mom's Dream Fund. And when he asked, "Why don't we ever see Grandpa or Grandma?" I simply said, because sometimes family isn't about blood. It's about respect. He never asked again. The shift came when I got my nursing degree. My hands trembled the day I got the call. Accepted into the state hospital residency program. 3 months later, I got promoted. I started side hustles, studied financial literacy at night, and learned how to invest. I made mistakes. Got scammed once. Cried over lost savings. But I learned. By the time I was 30, I owned a condo, ran my own private nurse contracting agency, and had one client whose life would soon change everything. Her name was Evelyn Marks. She was a sharp-tongued widow in her 70s with too much money and not enough people she trusted. I met her after a fall left her in recovery for 3 weeks. She was mean as hell. At first. But then she saw how I treated Noah. She saw how he studied beside me at the hospital lobby after school. She saw how I stayed after shifts just to make sure she was tucked in without anyone asking me to. She left me a tip one day, a check for $100,000. With one note: use it wisely. Build something. And I did. I built a home health company from scratch. And when Evelyn passed a year later, she left me something else: her house. Not a mansion, but a gorgeous 3-bedroom Victorian with a backyard Noah turned into a garden. I cried for a week. Then I got up and registered my company under a new name, Noah Care. Back at the doorstep, my father finally found his voice. "I thought you'd come to ask for help," he said bitterly. I tilted my head. "Help? I came to return the favor." "What favor?" "The one where you threw your pregnant daughter onto the street," I said, my voice now a calm blade. Only now I'm standing here as the CEO of the fastest-growing private health agency in the state. He blinked. "You're what?" My mother stepped into view, and the color drained from her face. She gasped, clutching her chest. "Amber." "Hi, Mom," I said flatly. She looked at Noah next. "And this is?" "My son, your grandson. The one you called a mistake before he was even born." Her mouth opened, but no words came. Then Noah stepped forward and handed her a small envelope. She opened it. Inside, an invitation. Noah West, valedictorian address. May 14th, 2 p.m. State Honors High School. Her lips quivered. "He's the top of his class," I said. "Full ride scholarship to Columbia. Studying biomedical engineering. His dream? To develop neuroresponsive prosthetics for veterans." Silence. And then I said the words I had waited 15 years to say. "You said I ruined this family. But the truth is, I saved myself from one." My mother stared at the invitation in silence, her perfectly manicured fingers trembling around the gold-edged paper. The edges fluttered like leaves in a storm. "You never told us," she finally muttered. I gave a short laugh. "Tell you what? That the daughter you disowned raised a young man better than either of you ever dreamed of being? My father, still gripping the doorframe like it might vanish beneath him, scoffed. You think success erases what you did? I stepped closer, eyes steady. What I did was survive. What I did was protect my son when you wouldn't even protect your daughter. Noah shifted beside me, still composed, still quiet. The kind of calm that unnerved people like my father, who only respected volume, not value. Can we come? My mother asked quietly. Her voice cracked on the last word. I looked her in the eye. You had 15 years. 15 birthdays. 15 chances. And you chose pride every time. I was scared, she whispered. No, I replied. You were silent. And silence is worse. My father stepped forward. Don't talk to your mother that way. No. I cut in sharply. You don't get to protect her now. Not after she watched you throw me out like garbage. He paused. For once, words escaped him. Noah spoke up then, his voice calm but heavy. I invited you both because I wanted you to see what you missed. Not because we owe you anything. This isn't a reunion. It's a reckoning. My father's face turned a shade paler. You think you're better than us? He snapped, voice rising. I didn't flinch.
No. I know I am.
Because I did it alone. He glared at Noah. And what about his father? What kind of man leaves a kid behind like that? Noah didn't even blink. He didn't leave. He died in a car accident when I was 1. My mom raised me alone, and still managed to give me everything. That shut him up. The shame on my parents' faces wasn't loud. It didn't scream. It settled. Quiet. Heavy.
Permanent.
I pulled a second envelope from my coat and handed it to my father. What's this? He muttered, staring at the sleek seal. A letter from Noah. He wrote it 3 years ago when he was 12. Said he wanted to give it to you when he became someone you couldn't ignore. They both went quiet. My mother gently opened the envelope. Noah had written in perfect, straight lines. Dear Grandpa and Grandma, you probably don't remember me, but I remember your absence. I used to think I wasn't good enough for your love. But now I understand. Some people don't know how to love someone who reminds them of their mistakes. I hope you find peace. But I already found mine. Noah West. The silence after that felt like the air had been sucked from the porch. I'll see you both at the ceremony, Noah said quietly. If you show up, I added, show up as guests, not as family. I turned and we walked back to the car. And as I closed the door behind us, I saw my father, his shoulders slumped, the letter in his hands, looking like the world had just cracked beneath him. 3 days after we left that doorstep, my phone rang. Private number. I almost didn't answer. Amber? It was my mother. Her voice sounded thin, like someone who just realized the past can't be undone. I didn't say anything. I waited. She began, then paused, like the words were foreign in her mouth. I read Noah's letter again. I've read it 10 times. Still, I said nothing. He's incredible. And you did all that on your own. I don't know what to say to you. You don't have to say anything, I replied softly. That chapter's closed. She hesitated. But is there any way to open a new one? I sighed, leaning back against the wall of my office. I stared at the framed photo of me and Noah in front of the house Evelyn left us. The day we painted the porch ourselves. Our hands stained blue. Our hearts full. There's no reset button for abandonment, I said calmly. But you're welcome to sit in the audience. That's all I can offer. I'll take it, she whispered. I'll take whatever I can get. Noah's graduation ceremony was held in the university auditorium. Hundreds of proud families. Cameras. Floral bouquets. Nervous students adjusting their robes. I watched him walk the stage, confident, tall, eyes focused, and my chest swelled so much it hurt. When he stepped up to the mic for his valedictorian speech, the room fell silent. I want to talk about failure, he began. My heart skipped. Not mine.
My mother's, he said, to gasps.
Then he smiled. Or at least, that's what everyone told her she was destined for. A 17-year-old girl with a baby and no family support. Everyone expected her to give up, settle, fade. The crowd leaned in, but she didn't. She built a life from ashes. She worked 3 jobs, studied at night, slept maybe 2 hours a day, and never, not once, made me feel like I was a burden. He paused, voice tightening. My mom is the reason I'm here. And if success is measured by the people you raise, then she's the richest person in this room. Tears filled my eyes. All around me, people were clapping, standing. I turned, and in the last row of the auditorium, I saw my mother, standing, crying silently, clapping slowly. My father wasn't beside her. Later that evening, as Noah and I stepped out into the golden dusk, a black car pulled up beside us. The door opened. My father. He stepped out wearing a suit, his posture stiff, a paper bag in his hand. I wasn't invited, he said, voice gravel. But I came anyway. I watched from the side entrance. I didn't speak. He handed me the bag. Inside was an old photo. Me at 10, on his shoulders at the beach. We were both laughing. I used to think discipline meant control, he said. That if I was hard enough on you, I could shape you. But I broke something I didn't know how to fix. He looked at Noah. You're a fine young man. I see that now. Noah nodded once.
Calm.
Respectful. Then my father turned to me. If you ever forgive me, I'll spend the rest of my life earning it. I met his eyes. For the first time in years, I didn't see the monster who threw me out. I saw a man haunted by his own decisions. I don't hate you, I said softly, but I don't need you either. He nodded. That's fair. And then, for the first time since I was 17, my father hugged me. It wasn't warm. It wasn't perfect. But it was real. 2 weeks later, the porch swing creaked under Noah's weight as he read through the thick Columbia welcome packet. I sat across from him, coffee in hand, watching the boy I raised slowly become the man he was always meant to be. You nervous? I asked. He glanced up and smiled. Not really. I feel ready. I nodded, blinking against the emotion rising in my chest. You are. That afternoon, we drove to the house I hadn't visited in over a decade except once, on that cold doorstep. This time, we parked in the driveway like we belonged. Because now we did. My mother met us at the door. She looked smaller than I remembered. Time had trimmed the sharpness off her. Inside, the table was already set. Not lavish. Not formal. Just sincere. I made your favorite, she said awkwardly, looking at Noah. Well, I tried. He smiled. I'm sure it's great. Halfway through dinner, she reached for my hand. I know I don't deserve your trust, she said, voice trembling. But I'd like to try. I miss so many years. I don't want to miss the rest. I didn't answer right away. I'm not the girl you left standing in the snow, I said at last. I'm a mother, a businesswoman, a survivor. You're more than that, she whispered. You're everything I wish I'd had the courage to be. Tears fell freely now, hers, not mine. Because for once, I didn't feel broken. I felt whole. A month later, as I helped Noah pack for college, he held up an old photo he'd pulled from my drawer, one of me holding him as a baby, eyes tired but glowing. You never told me how bad it got, he said. You didn't need to know, I replied. You needed to live, not carry my pain. He studied the photo again, then looked at me. You're the strongest person I've ever met. I smiled. That's because I had someone worth fighting for. Before he left, he gave me a single folded paper, handwritten. Asterisk, Mom. I know you say I saved you, but the truth is, you saved both of us. Thank you for never giving up on me, even when everyone else gave up on you. Asterisk. And now, Noah's off building the future, one equation, one invention at a time. He calls every Sunday, tells me about dorm life, professors, and the girl who bakes him cookies every Friday. As for me, Noah Care expanded to 3 more states. We now provide in-home services to over 3,000 families. And just last week, I hired a new field director, a single mom, Recently abandoned.
Raw. Hurting.
I looked her in the eye during the interview and said, I've been where you are, and I promise it doesn't end here. Because sometimes the best revenge is